Good morning, dear friends and participants of the International Marathon. It is Saturday today, morning time, and it is time Caitanya-Caritamrita class. A most wonderful guest today, Bhakti Ananta Krishna Goswami. Everyone probably knows him, but it is our duty to introduce him. He is a disciple of Gopala Krishna Goswami, and he is a spiritual leader, and he inspired projects such as Gaura, and a leader of Gopal Dahara community. He's always very, very inspirational, and it's very great joy to have such people in ISKCON. Over to you, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Thank you for hosting such an incredible marathon. Internationally, it is said that we are reading Caitanya-Caritamrita. It's such a merciful scripture. We shall sing a bhajan first, which devotees sing before reading Caitanya-Caritamrita. Sri Krishna Chaitanya.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Daya Karma Jagata Samsara Patita Pavana Heto Kavavata Samapati Nabaidu Nityananda Premananda Sri Balaram Amiga Daya Kar Sita Kaji Abhaita Gupta Savatipa Malipa Chaitanya Bhakta Juga Prabhu Acharya Prabhu Srinivasa Ramachandra Ramaye Narottama Hare Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Dayanara Samadina Jagata Krishna Krishna Hare Rama Rama Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Rama Rama Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Jaya Gaurani Jaya,
And so, dear devotees, we're reading Caitanya-Caritamrita. Today, we're reading from the Madhya-lila, 22nd chapter, the practice of devotional service, text 21.
Kevala Gyana Mukti Jitena Ribhakti Vine Krishnan Mukhi Se Mukti Hayavina Яне. Пословный период можно вместе. У нас тут аудитория небольшая.
Kevala, only, Jnana, speculative knowledge. Mukti, liberation. Dite, to deliver. Nare, is not able. Bhakti vine, without devotional service. Krishna unmukhe, if one is attached to the service of Lord Krishna. So it is interesting. Bengali is similar to Sanskrit. And there is this expression, Krishna's mukhi or bahir mukhi. Mukhi is translated as face, and bahir is to the side. So bahir mukti, we are turning away from Krishna, and Krishna unmukhi, and it is the face of Krishna. And it is translated as attached to the service of Krishna. So he who is always serving Krishna always has his face in the same direction as Krishna. Say mukti, that liberation. Haya appears. Vina, without. Jnane, knowledge. So I've chosen this text. It might seem a little contradictory, but we will read it. Speculative knowledge alone without devotional service is not able to give liberation. On the other hand, even without knowledge, one can obtain liberation if one engages in the Lord's devotional service. And so this is quite a cryptic text. You can understand it like this and like this. And in order to decode it, we must understand Caitanya-Caritamrita. We must understand that Caitanya-Caritamrita describes Sambandha Gyan, Sambandha Prayojana, and the process of devotional service.
Sambandha bhakti abhideya haya prema prayojana videtina vastukaya.
It says that Sambandha is the knowledge of Bhagavan, of Krishna, and generally Sambandha is in the first section where the philosophy and spiritual masters are contained, in the first section of Caitanya-Caritamrita, who Krishna is, and that he is the Supreme Lord, and that Lord Chaitanya is the Supreme Lord, and Nityananda is Balaram. The whole Panchatattva is described, and the Panchatattva glory is described in whole. And Madhya-lila is Abhideya. It is the process of devotional service. And the process of devotional service is known as Bhakti. And its peak, the peak of Bhakti, is the mission of preaching. And Lord Chaitanya shows here how he preaches, travelling to South India and in the north in Vrindavan. And Prema Prayojana is the end goal. And the end goal is the love of God. Prayojana is the ending aim. And in this way, Caitanya-Caritamrita describes Sambandha, Abhideya, and Prayojana. In general, holy scriptures are set out in this way. Sambandha is Bhagavad-gita. It's the general overview of Krishna. Abhideya and the process of devotional service is Srimad Bhagavatam. And finally, Prayojana, it is Caitanya-Caritamrita. So you want to tell me, I want to confuse you. You can say, Maharaj, you're confusing me. In all of these scriptures, all three are contained, but now you're telling us that Sambandha is Bhagavad-gita, Abhideya is Srimad Bhagavatam, and Caitanya-Caritamrita is Prayojana. And so Caitanya-Caritamrita, even though it embodies Prema Purnata Mahan, the aim, end goal of love of Godhead, love to Krishna, but at the same time, Caitanya-Caritamrita embodies Prayojana. There are still some divisions. There's Sambandha Prayojana, Abhideya Prayojana, and Prayojana Prayojana. And so the aim of Caitanya-Caritamrita itself is love of God, love towards Krishna, which Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu felt. And at the same time, there the philosophy is given, who is Lord Krishna? But at the same time, we are reminded that who is Lord Chaitanya and why he came, his external features and internal features, and in this way firstly, empirical knowledge is described here. What is empirical knowledge? So empirical knowledge is, it can be described as knowledge of empirics, or the knowledge which is given by philosophies of the impersonalists, but at the same time Gyan can be translated as knowledge, which is knowledge in the Bhagavad-gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. It can be translated like this. There is literally translation. For example, a person who is an impersonalist can translate it in a different way. But we won't go too deeply into this. And so in this way, it is highlighted that the word jnana can be translated as knowledge in Bhagavad-gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, but here the empirical knowledge jnana is given. Knowledge itself detached from devotional service, and this understanding of jnana and vijnana and jnana is knowledge separate from devotional service, simply theoretical, but vijnana is realized knowledge, which is in sync with devotional service. It is knowledge which has been realized and expanded, and it is expanded in the sense that it must be used on practice. And what is this practice? The practice is that, thank you to this practice of Abhideya, we achieve prayojana and return back to Godhead. This is the first part of this shloka. And it is said that this empirical knowledge cannot give us liberation. Liberation here is defined as mukti. And so, my dear, well-respected impersonalist, even if you want to gain liberation of Brahmajyoti, this knowledge will not help you. I gained this realization reading the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Srila Prabhupada says very interestingly that even to obtain the Brahmajyoti is incredibly difficult. But devotees who cultivate impure bhakti, he is the one that obtains the Brahmajyoti. And here, in this shloka, different forms of liberation are referred to. There are 5 main liberations which are described in Caitanya-Caritamrita, Srimad Bhagavatam. It is said that Sarupya
Sarti Samipya Salokya Sarti Samipya Sarupyam Katvam Atputa.
Different liberations are embodied. This is Salokya, which is to be on the same planet as the Lord. Then greater liberation is Sarupya. Never mind that you are with the Lord on one planet, you also have the same form as the Lord. Then the fifth is Shastri. Never mind you are on the same planet, you have the same form. You also have his opulence in full, as the Lord has on that planet. Very mystical perfection. The fourth liberation is Samitya. As well as all of the other three, you also have close association with the Lord. And the fifth one is Sayujya Mukti, and devotees do not even consider this. Sayujya is considered Naraka, it is hellish. And so this liberation, for which even great yogis and sages are striving for, is Naraka. This is a great revelation. And obviously these impersonalists might pose the question, how liberation is spoken so highly of in the Upanishads, but you're telling us that Sayujya is hell? And the Acharyas respond that because in this state there is no devotional service, you are just glowing there and that is it. You're effulgent and that is it. There is no service. What is the use in this? It can go to hell, this sort of liberation. It is useless. Devotees, please don't respond with a smile. If I am making you laugh, then laugh. If I'm making you sad, then cry. And Bhakti Ananta Thakur tells us that he gives a story which happened to him. He was walking, and he was walking in Navadvip or Krishna Nagara or Jagannatha Puri, not sure where, and then he sees a woman, and the woman is crying very, very sorrowfully. And he approaches her and says, dear girl, poor girl, child of mine, dear child, why are you crying? And she says, dear granddad, how can I not weep? Vaishnavas are turning away from me. He says, how, really? Vaishnavas are turning away from you? I am a Vaishnava and I am not turning away from you. He says, child, what is your name? And she says, my name is Sayujya Mukti. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur turned around and ran so fast away. Therefore, Vaishnavas run away from Sayujya Mukti. They follow in the footsteps of Bhaktivinoda Thakur and run away from her. And so, this word Mukti, devotees are not striving for Mukti. But here, liberation is meant in a wide sense, to obtain Vaikuntha planets. But the greatest liberation, which devotees give example of, is the liberation when Krishna liberates us from this material world and takes us to Goloka Vrindavan, so that we are on Goloka Dham. Welcome, dear devotees. I'm using this great Vyasasan on which I can sleep. And they told me, Maharaj, you must read for an hour and a half. You can take the big Vyasasan, you can have a little lie down. And so liberation, which is the greatest, is Goloka, Vrindavan. Furthermore, it is said, on the other hand, even not having this knowledge, you can obtain liberation by serving the Lord. You are a complete log, you know nothing, but you can still obtain liberation. On this log, a pure devotee can sit, and that log devotee can gain liberation. If you're a complete tool and useless, but if a devotee uses you in the service of the Lord, then you can obtain liberation. Because devotional service contains all of this.
Bhakti Yoga Prayojanaha, Janait Ashu Vairagyam, Yanam Chayat Ahaitukam.
This verse in the first canto, Sutta Goswami says to the sages of Naimisharanya, these sages were going along this path of liberation, this path of obtaining Brahmajyoti. And can you imagine what a powerful thing Sutta Goswami had said? There were thousands and thousands of impersonalists there. And after he spoke the Srimad Bhagavatam, all of them took the path of bhakti. They became pure devotees. Very powerful preaching. And so he is warming them up. He was preparing them to this path of Shuddha Bhakti, Kedala Bhakti or Ananya Bhakti. What other bhaktis are there? Shuddha, Ananya, Kevala, Parama Bhakti, Param Bhakti. This pure devotional service. And he says to them that if you engage yourself in pure devotional service, Vasudeva Bhagavati, to Vasudev, Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bhakti Yoga Prayojana. So your aim is Bhakti Yoga, devotional service. So then, that which you are trying to obtain, jnana and vairagya, will reveal itself in your heart automatically. Simply engage yourself in devotional service and your heart will open naturally. Because vijnana, or this transcendental knowledge, is already in your heart. You cannot imagine what is happening in our hearts. You cannot imagine what a huge amount of knowledge there is there. And this is confirmed by one verse in Caitanya-Caritamrita.
Nitya Sitha Krishna Prema Sadhya Kabunoi, Shravanadi Shuddha Chitta Kare Udoi.
It is said that perfection or bhakti, and bhakti is the supreme energy, and in bhakti all the other energies, knowledge, vairagya, all of this energy is already contained within the heart. So simply by engaging in devotional service, this prema, this bhakti is opened from the heart. And so this is, we already possess all of this. It is contained within us. The knowledge is contained within our hearts. And the love and prema is within our hearts. Not to mention the vairagya and all of the treasures of this world are in our heart. But in order to open all of this up, engage yourself in devotional service, and it will be in your pocket. Therefore, we have studied the shloka, and now there is a small commentary. One cannot attain liberation simply by speculative knowledge. Even though one may be able to distinguish between Brahman and matter, one's liberation will be hampered if one is misled into thinking that the living entity is as good as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Indeed, one falls down again onto the material platform because considering oneself the Supreme Person, the Supreme Absolute Truth, is offensive. Let's consider how this is applicable for us. We are all of a sudden devotees, everything is fine. Hare Krishna, we're chanting. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Come on, quickly finish the rounds. This is our japa. And let us consider where is this danger? How can we go from bhakti into mayavadi? How does this appear? How does this appear our desire to become God? And we have this desire. The devotees go through this. And it is said that this is the last trap of Maya. I am God. We are smiling. We're smiling and we are, in fact, this challenge comes. And Maya acts very subtly. It sneaks up on you unexpected and unnoticed and does its job. It takes our hand, it strokes and massages our hand. Oh, it feels very good. Yeah, so now I shall massage you like this and like this. Oh, and she has caught you. And the hand has been broken. And this is how Maya acts. Very gently, and all of a sudden she takes you behind the bars. Let us study how she massages us. The first thing she does, we at one point start to notice that we can do devotional service. And Maya says, yes, yes, yes. And then she starts to whisper, you are qualified and acting in devotional service. Here you're getting praise. Here you're getting praise. Here you're getting noticed. Here you're getting shouts of Hari Bol and claps. And in this way, we begin to gradually realize that we are realized devotees, self-realized devotees, and we consider this very deep realizations. And because we consider ourselves qualified and realized devotees, we begin to make our own decisions. And therefore, we see ourselves as very advanced or equal to other devotees who is our manager or our guru. And Maya is telling us higher and higher and higher, everything's fine. Because this is where we are aspiring. You are going to Prema. Go on. And then we see that the guru is no longer our authority. I am above my authority. Then we go further. We are removing our guru. Then we go from our Shiksha Guru to our Diksha Guru. Then we're thinking, we already know our absolute truth. Then we step over the Guru. Then we first think ourselves as a senior devotee, then a scary devotee. Then we think ourselves above the Guru. We think we are higher than the Guru. Then we think of ourselves as Raganuga Bhakti. Then the nectar is coming after Raganuga Bhakti. After Raganuga Bhakti, he's starting to think, I am perhaps Shakti Avesh avatar, not a Das, but a Shakti Avesh avatar of Lord Nityananda. At worst, at least, I am the Shakti Avesh of Lord Nityananda, but most likely of Lord Chaitanya. And then they start to think, I am Nityananda himself, and then I am Krishna himself, and then even Radharani. And so Mayavadi is very, very dangerous for us. It doesn't say to you straight away, I am God. It's not like you're sitting there reading Srimad Bhagavatam and all of a sudden, I am God. There is a verse, and this verse is in Siberian language saying, in very, very cool text. And you can turn it this way and this way, just as your soul desires, as your heart pleases. It is the first of the verses of the Chatur Shlokas. These are the 4 main shlokas of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And the first one states, it can be translated literally as Srila Prabhupada translated it. It is the words of Lord Narayan. Lord Narayan is given instructions to Lord Brahma, and he says, Aham evasam tevagyan. Before the creation of this material world, there was nothing, there was only me. And when he began to manifest himself, it was also me. And after the destruction, it is only me also. And as appears, it's all very understandable. Any bhakta can understand. Yes, Lord. Yes, you are the ultimate supreme Lord. I bow before you in great reverence. But if this verse is in the hands of Mayavadi, he says, before there was nothing, existed only I. I existed. When this world appeared, it was only me, and when everything was destroyed, it was only me. So he takes this verse and everything changes. I'll tell you a story which happened with me during the Sankirtan. It was in the town of Saratovi. Maybe some of the listeners will hear this from Sarata Chand. And I was distributing books, and a person approached me and said, I am an impersonalist. How do you like to call it? Ah, yes, Mayavadi. There you go. I consider everything to be one. I said, how is everything one? He said, everything is one. I said, fine. If everything is one, that means that there is no difference. I was in my Vaishnava clothes. It makes no difference how I'm dressed in my clothes or as your clothes. He said, yes, everything is one. I went further. I said, so in your pocket, a little red ticket, a little red note is showing. So there is £5,000. That means there is no difference whether this money is in this pocket or in this pocket. He said, no, there is no difference. I said, okay, very well. And I take it and I put it in the pocket, and he said, well, you cannot do this. Well, how? Why not? You're telling me everything is one. You're making it very simple. And I said, I'm just looking at simple examples. Now I will look at a different example. Let me give you a more difficult example. So you're telling me that you are dressed in a shirt and jeans, and there is no difference. Everything is one, whether you're standing in clothes or without clothes. And he said, yes, everything is one. And then I said, get undressed right here, right now. And he said, oh, you're joking. You're making everything so simple. And I said, this is a little bit more difficult a job than the first one. So I said, okay. Or you take Vaishnavism. Get undressed or take Vaishnavism. And I said, do not get undressed, because there is a difference. Because if you're undressed, the police will take you and put you behind bars, and you will get very cold there. So there is a difference. And he said, well, you're very, very, very... And he turned around and he ran. So dear devotees, if we meet a Mayavadi, it is nectar to joke with them. You can have so much fun. You can laugh. It's so much amusement. The whole Brahmajyoti is laughing. Also, the demigods are also seeing these things and they are laughing. I remember once we were traveling to preach with Caitanya-Caritamrita Prabhu. This was in 1997. And we were going to Finland to preach. And we are driving along the car and our chauffeur is driving us. And he says, shall we stop and have some food? Have some prasad, honor our prasad? So we stopped. And this was the territory of Finland. And as soon as we crossed the border, interesting thing happened. The sun was shining. The grass was green. We sat in the forest and the grass, can you imagine? It was green. First of all, it was green. It was standing upright. And it was completely straight. There's no trampled grass. There's no weeds. And the grass is immaculate. And we're sitting there like on a heavenly planet. There's even flowers on the trees, can you imagine? And we are brahmacharis, very ascetic. And Caitanya-Caritamrita Prabhu got the food ready. He started to give us prasads. I thought definitely heavenly planet. Very nectarine experience. And we took our harmonium, we started to sing and play. And all of a sudden I see there are petals coming from the sky. I'm thinking, oh, the demigods. The demigods are showering us with the petals. What nectar. I even said, Prabhu, look, the demigods, they are showering us with petals. He said, it's just the wind's blowing on the apple trees. And they're blowing over the petals. And so we are carrying on with our commentary. When such a person comes in contact with a pure devotee, he can actually become liberated from material bondage and engage in the Lord's service. A prayer by Bilva Mangala Thakur is relevant here.
Bhakti stvai shiratara bhagavan yadisyat daivinanach bhalati divya kishora murtih. О, какой красивый стих. Муртих.
Oh, what a
Красивый
beautiful verse.
стих.
Murtih. Beautiful verse.
Мукти свая мукулита джалих. Севатисман Хармартха камагатаях самая пратихшах.
See, what a beautiful, beautiful verse. Very beautiful. Bilva Mangala Thakur was such a poet. O my Lord, if one engages in your pure devotional service with determination, you become visible in your original transcendental, youthful form as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You can see, dear devotees, we're just serving, but simply one quality we need to add. It's the determination. And Krishna will reveal himself. Like Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, do not try to see Krishna. We need to make sure that Krishna can see us. And in order for this, we need to serve with determination, and Krishna will notice us. Then he continues, as far as liberation is concerned, she stands before the devotee with folded hands, waiting to render service. Then he continues, this is not enough. After liberation, religion, economic development, and sense gratification. So this is dharma, artha, kama, are all automatically attained without a separate endeavor. They're standing there very humbly and saying, order us. Therefore, the devotee is not hesitant. He says, sure, the dharma, artha, kama, and even moksha. My dear beautiful ones, my dear goddesses, I will engage you in pure devotional service, serve the Lord. And the devotee engages them in pure devotional service. Can you imagine? And this is due to, why did Bhaktivinoda Thakur run away from Sayuji Mukti? We must engage these in devotional service because Srila Prabhupada is with us. And Srila Prabhupada has taught us that everything can be engaged in devotional service. Devotional service can, rascals can be engaged in devotional service. Super rascals can also be engaged in devotional service. Super rascals are, let me give a brief description, are impersonalists. Huge rascals, Mayavadis, can be engaged in devotional service. So all of these incredible fallen rascals who are hippies, they can be engaged in this devotional service. At least Mayavadis are acting civilized, in a civilized way, but hippies are completely perverted in the way that they can even engage in unusual activities on benches in parks. Srila Prabhupada was so merciful that he accepted them. They were so degraded that they invited Srila Prabhupada to nudist lectures, where during the lectures in Srimad Bhagavatam they were sat naked. At least if a man who was naked would be sitting away from a naked woman, but no, they were all sat all together, and Srila Prabhupada completely transcendentally give these lectures, and they would just stand up and leave. And it is not because they couldn't listen to the lecture, it's because they then returned and they were fully dressed. This is how powerful this was. And we can follow in the footsteps of Srila Prabhupada, and all of this degraded situation, we can engage in devotional service. And Srila Prabhupada empowers us with this. So this is why some devotees are creating miracles and incredible things happen. Therefore, we must use this empowerment in the mood of Srila Prabhupada. And the mood of Srila Prabhupada, first and foremostly, is humility and compassion. Mercy has many definitions. There are many technical terms in Sanskrit. For example, there is a terminology which means kripa, which means mercy. There is doya, also mercy. Karuna. But this mercy is distinguished by its internal content. For example, kripa, from the word krita or kriya, is action. Karuna, from the word karana, is cause. there is also doya, from the word daya, to give. And so this kripa and karuna is mercy which has a cause. Kripa, you need to do something to get this mercy. Karuna, here there's also must be some sort of cause, at least to smile, to say yes, yes, I agree, and to blink your eyes. But doya is causeless mercy. This is when your pockets are completely empty and somebody tells you, please take $1 million, and you say, this is false, this can't be true. And so this $1 million they take and by force they put into your pocket. And similarly, doya is mercy which you don't even want to accept, but they give it to you, they shove it in your pocket. And Srila Prabhupada was able to do this very well. When he was giving programs, he would himself cook the feast and wash the pots. I remember I was invited to one town and asked to give a lecture, and the devotees arrived and they cooked prasad, everything was fine, and the program was conducted. I was serving the prasad to the devotees, and they were so ecstatic, they were gathering, and by accident I walked into the kitchen and I could see there was a mount of dirty washing, and it wasn't like I started like Srila Prabhupada to wash the pots. I put them neatly and then I marched the devotees in there and I asked them to wash it. And so, dear devotees, we have such a treasure. One devotee was telling me one time, I am from a different confession, and the different confession is more interesting. He knew a little about bhakti and he was coming to the temple, but he said, the different tradition is closer to me. And I said, that's fine. Let's see what we have and what is there. And we started. And the classical scenario. Is there holy name here? No. Hare Krishna mantra is there? No. There is a Supreme Personality which has all the opulences. Lord Kapila himself, he was saying, I bow down to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And here God himself is saying, I bow down to the Lord, because he has all of these opulences. He has Aishvarya, opulence, Vairagya, renunciation, Yasha, fame. He has knowledge and power and beauty. So he has all of these 6 opulences. Therefore I bow down to him. Could you tell me, is there Krishna in your confession which has all these opulences and shows them? No. Okay. So is there prasad? Oh, there's little bits of bread. Is there Caitanya-Caritamrita? Is there a sari? A tilak? Dharma? And then we studied that there was nothing there. Is there kirtan? No. Kirtan in the style of Vrindavan. Indra Prabhu? No. Mayapur? No. Vedic Planetarium Temple? No. What else do we have? Mangalarti do you have? Do you have Srimad Bhagavatam? Bhagavad-gita? Ekadashi, Vrata ki jai. There's not even Ekadashi. And we looked. There was nothing. And he was standing there for a long time, scratching his head. We have a whole tradition. Could you tell me, is there Brahmins or Kshatriyas, Vaishyas? Only Shudras? Do you have Brahmacharis, Grihastas, Vanaprastas, or Sannyasis? What is there? There's nothing there. There's not even a Kanti-mala. And so in this way, I was able to convince this devotee. There's not even a gulab jamun. There's no sandesh. There's not even a chapati. Not even an inflated chapati. Or deflated chapati even. So, dear devotees, I was asked to leave some time for questions. Around 25 minutes left. Could you ask me some questions? How will this happen? Thank you very much, Maharaj. Very nectarine lecture. I will ask you my questions. If brahmacharis begin to sign up from places like Brazil, would you take them? And grihastas could also come to you? I think there will be a big queue. That's very good. There is a queue. We will be selecting. So we shall begin questions. You know, we would take even from Brazil. I remember we had CVN. And the devotees were acting out as agents of MMS. And he was saying, dear respectable Abhay Charanaravinda, you in the 71st year came to Russia and still have not registered. When will you register? So he was acting out this confession. So even those from these agencies were acknowledging that the Murti is a real life person. So with you there are Vaishnavas with you, and they will also be asking questions. So we have a question from online. Thank you, Maharaj, for your incredible lecture. So Mayavadi turns out to be when you are thinking about yourself and not about God? Excellent question. You noticed this very, very intricately. Mayavadi begins with the fact that I do not listen, I do not think about the Lord, but I think about myself. This is the root of Mayavadi. So once in the lecture, there were loads of devotees sitting next to me. We shall conduct an experiment. And the devotees were asked to look at each other and to look around. They were looking around, and I asked them, what does it appear like? You are in the center and everyone is around you. And similarly, Maya gives us the impression that we are in the center and everything is rotating around us. And so this egocentric nature is the cause for Mayavadi. But when we are thinking about the Lord, He is in the center and I'm somewhere in the corner. And when we are thinking about the devotees, then the devotee is in the center. Any devotee is in the center, but I am not in the center. And this is this personal aspect, particularly in Vedic culture. Just like Bhakti Vinod says in Jayavadharma. he says,
он говорит,
Jivadoya,
Живодоя, Намаручи,
Namaruchi,
Вайшнава,
Vaishnava,
Вайшнава,
Ulasa.
да.
Jivadoya,
Живодоя, Намаручи,
Namaruchi, Vaishnava, Urachi.
Передехамори, Огея, Кришнадаса. Вот очень часто в стихах нужно читать с конца.
It is often that these verses we must read from back to front. He says, "Oh, Jiva Goswami, please give me mercy. Teach me Namaruchi. Teach me how to sing the holy names. Vaishnava Seva, teach me how to serve the Vaishnavas. Jivadoya, teach me how to preach or to display humility and compassion to others, to all living entities." This is the classic of Vaishnava philosophy. In the center, there is God, and I'm serving God. This is the philosophy. In the center, there's the Vaishnavas, and when we are preaching, our object of preaching is in the center, and I'm preaching to him. I am his servant because I am a servant. If I'm a servant, I'm somewhere in a corner. I am not in the center. In the center, there is the master. And so this is how our philosophy differs from the Mayavadi philosophy. When they, in any situation, whether in the temple, whether in front of the deity, in front of other people, they are in the center. And the whole world is revolving around them. Thank you very much for the question. Very, very deep and philosophical. Thank you very much. Next question. Forgive me if I read it incorrectly. Charahot Shri Dasan. Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you very much for an incredible lecture. You were talking about the incredible qualities of our tradition. What about other traditions? Is there no spiritual development there? Yes, there is spiritual development, but till a certain point, and that certain point is religiosity. Because in other confessions, their aim is to get to heaven. They cannot even get to the Brahmajyotir. Even one devotee asked all these different confessions, what is better, to bow down to Durga, or to these confessions? Why? Because she's a demigod. And Srila Prabhupada says, because this is a Vedic culture. And if we even bow down to Durga or to Lord Shiva, at some point they will direct us to Krishna. But it is better not to wait for this. It's better to go straight to Krishna. In this life I will bow down to Durga or Krishna. It's better to overcome all of these stages. Srila Prabhupada gave us Krishna the way he is. Accept Krishna. And therefore there is this verse. This verse is the second in the whole of Srimad Bhagavatam.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Jamadi Сеет Он Ваяты, Тарташ Чертеш, Обхидена Сварат и так далее. Второй стих.
Second verse.
Дхармаха проджита кайтава трапа рама нирмат саранам сатам видим ваставам атравас. Шиванам тапа траямуланам. Шримад Бхагаватам Махамуни критам кимба параир ишварат. Садью хриди аварут ятатрап, крити пхис шушурши пхис таткшанат.
And it begins with what? It is said that Bhagavatam rejects false religions. And what is Kaitava Dharma, or false religions? It is religions which pursue material aims. Artha, Kama, Moksha. These are religions of dharma. First there is just dharma, just do your dharma of Kshatriya, Vaishyas or Shudras or even Brahmanas. Then there is artha, then there's wealth, then kama, then we enjoy this. Then there is too much of this and there is moksha. First they do their dharma, then they get wealth, then they enjoy it, then they become God. Moksha. I am God. Therefore, this is Kaitva Dharma, or false religion. Bhagavatam rejects this false religions. And what does Bhagavatam accept? In the next chapter it is said,
Savai pumsam parotharmo yato bhakti adokshrim ahaituga pratihata yayatma suprasidati.
what is even greater than dharma? Paradharma, the greatest dharma. Bhakti yoga ajokshaje, it is devotional service, pure devotional service, adokshaje, to the Supreme Lord. It must be ahaituki apratihata, uninterrupted, unmotivated. Therefore, Bhagavatam rejects one thing but accepts the other. Another devotee has written, how should a Vaishnav act towards other confessions? If they are interested, they can be given Bhagavad Dharma. They can be told about Bhagavad-gita or Srimad Bhagavatam and other philosophies, but do not go to spheres of Raganuga Bhakti or Srimati Radharani, simply Sambandha, no further than Bhagavad-gita, if he is interested. If he is not interested and starts to argue, then he must simply be encouraged to sincerely follow his own tradition. He should follow his tradition in the mood of bhakti. Everything must be done not for our own satisfaction, but for the satisfaction of God. And Jesus Christ will give you, or Muhammad, or Allah will give you all blessings. Simply do it for the Lord, not for your ego. Do everything for Allah, or for Jehovah, or for Jesus Christ, and your life will be successful. It is said, do not kill. So why would you kill? Why would you kill a living entity? Begin by becoming a vegetarian. There is this journal, this article, and in this magazine it is said about one family as an example. And this family is not eating meat, they are not taking any intoxications, not even beer. They are only having sex for the purpose of procreation, or they're not engaging in anything commercial. And we can come to the conclusion that they are saintly. And we look in our tradition, this is only the beginning in our tradition, and for them this is the ultimate goal. Is there any other questions? Thank you. Then there are some other questions from Yelena. Could you please tell us how important it is to control, how can we control the eating habits of a child, because the other parent is not vegetarian and there's a lot of pressure? I see. There is a mother or a father, and she's a devotee. She wants her child to also be vegetarian, and somebody is putting pressure on her, as I understand. Spiritual methods here are not effective. They will not accept. And here, perhaps there needs to be some scientific studies which prove vegetarianism is superior. There are millions of conclusions, millions of examples which support vegetarianism. You must show a child who's a vegetarian, who is active, healthy, bring them and show. But at the end of the day, the parents decide whether to be vegetarian or not. The responsibility is from the parents. we must show some sort of resilience during this. I remember when my relatives were trying to feed my son meat, and I said, I am the parent. I am responsible for my child. If he becomes ill, it's not your responsibility, it is mine. We must be resilient in our views. Thank you for the lecture. Another question.
Благодарю за лекцию. Скажите, пожалуйста, Махарадж, а важно ли повторение мантры в кругу преданных? Спасибо.
Очень хороший вопрос. Я только недавно о нем говорил, что
I was only recently saying that the best japa is in the circle of devotees. Judging by myself, when I committed sinful activity, even sannyasis commit these sins sometimes. Please don't judge me. I use the fact that I'm a sannyasi. I have this stick here, and this means that I am such a great person. But I notice that I come out, first of all, for example, just exiting my room, just on my own to read and to sing my soul out, Hare Krishna, etc. But what happens when I enter my room? I look, there is this good dish, and you begin to eat it. And you start one after the other, you start eating and spit out the seeds. And then there's nice juice there as well. And I was thinking, oh, well, today there was the best burfi in all three worlds. And I made this for Giriraj. And you begin to eat the burfis. And that is it. Once you have had the burfis, this is the most nectarine telephone in all the three worlds. And what have they sent me? And off I go. And this devotees is our lonely japa. This is what it leads to. You begin to communicate with the whole universe. And this is our dear Giriraj. You can see him here. There he is, Giriraj. Around him, thousands and thousands of devotees have circumambulated him. Around 10,000 people have circumambulated him. I can say something about the Goloka Fest, and we have this statistic that after the Goloka Fest, around 50 to 200 people become devotees. Sometimes we have smaller Goloka Fests, sometimes bigger Goloka Fests. Therefore, you should always conduct Goloka Fests and invite your guests to it. Like some devotees have been telling me that I have brought my friend to Goloka Fest, and for 5 years I've been trying to convince him to go to the temple, and he was saying no. And then when I said to him, so should we go to a club? And he said, yes, sure. And when he ended up coming, he was saying, oh, how have you not told me about this before? You didn't tell me all the things that happen here. Why didn't you tell me earlier? Thank you very much, Maharaj. We will endeavour to gather for these beautiful festivals. There's another question. Can the reading of holy scripts replace prayer? The reading of prayers, the reading of scriptures such as Srimad Bhagavatam, Caitanya-Caritamrita, in general can replace prayer, because Srimad Bhagavatam has many, many prayers, a lot of prayers. There's the prayers of Queen Kunti, the prayers of Devahuti, prayers of Kapila Dev, when they're saying, "Oh my Lord," the Kumaras are there, Maharaj Yudhisthira, Vasudeva, meaning the father of Krishna, Maharaj Parikshit also addresses Shukadeva Goswami with prayers, and Shukadeva Goswami himself addresses the Lord with prayers. Prahlad Maharaj, Dhruva Maharaj, many prayers, incredible prayers. Rupa Goswami said that the prayers can be said in your own words, or you can read authoritative prayers in the Srimad Bhagavatam, so it can replace. But the best prayer is Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. My dear Lords, engage me in your pure devotional service. This is the best prayer. Thank you very much. Another question from Nadia. There is Bhakti, Shraddha, Sadhusanga. Do we need to understand what stage we're on? And can such an understanding cause us to be proud? This is correct. We can understand what stage we're in, but in every stage, the same thing applies. Trinarapi Sunichina, Tarorapi Sahishnana, Amanina Manadena, Kirtaniya Sadahari. We must be humble as a blade of grass. We must not accept any praise to ourselves or expect it. So you are able to understand what stage you're on. For example, if you have just come to the Krishna consciousness, you haven't picked your spiritual master, you are on the stage of Shraddha, apart from some exceptional cases. Then you choose your spiritual master. You decide that, yes, I have picked him. I read the pranam mantra. Then this is sadhu sangha. Then you get to the first initiation. This is bhajana kriya. Then you get the second initiation. And we must be adherent to this stage. In the first stage of initiation, we must follow the principles, participate in the mission of the Guru. Then anartha nivriti. This is the second initiation. This is a very powerful Brahman who has all these qualities of a Brahmana. He is self-satisfied. He controls his senses. He is ascetic. He is religious. This is anartha nivriti. This is the second initiation. Then there's nishtha, firm faith, third initiation. A person who is very serious. He is a serious preacher and guru. And so we are building our path to the ultimate goal of prema. I understand that in this life I must reach prema. And so these different stages, Shraddha, Sadhusanga, Bhajana Kriya, Artha Nivriti, etc. So this is not bad. There are some devotees who write books from Shraddha to Nishti. And once you get to a certain stage, whatever you do, washing the toilets, you're in ecstasy. Eating prasadam, you're in ecstasy. Thank you. One more question, perhaps, from Victoria. If Srimad Bhagavatam is read without Sanskrit, is this also okay, or is it better to read the Sanskrit? Why do we need to read Sanskrit? It's possible this way or that way. You can read it without Sanskrit, but if you want to preach to devotees, or maybe not even devotees, but who respect Sanskrit and Shastra, and you want to argue with them, you want to preach through argument, then you can use Sanskrit. Sanskrit is a very attractive language, but too much endeavor to learn Sanskrit and grammar is a little dangerous. I've asked Madan Mohan to study Sanskrit because because he's very good, and he told me one time that it's dangerous as it can lead to this jnana, this path of jnana. You can translate it this way and that way, and you can get very lost in all of these translations. Srila Prabhupada said that you can learn Sanskrit through learning shlokas. You read the shlokas, you learn some of these words and shlokas, and these different words you can know, and you can argue, make a nice argument. How do we develop determination in devotional service? I shall tell you, from the nectar of devotion, the third shloka states that in order to develop determination, firstly, you must develop enthusiasm. In order to develop enthusiasm, you must engage in devotional service consciously. You must understand that devotional service is in order to satisfy Krishna, to satisfy Srila Prabhupada, the Guru, and the Vaishnavas, and at the end of the day, to satisfy all living beings. And so, this sort of devotional service we must engage in once we have enthusiasm. Because once we have enthusiasm, then we develop determination. And this base platform is enthusiasm. We cannot be decisive and determined unless we have enthusiasm. You shall be very decisive, but not have this spirit of enthusiasm. You will scare everybody. You must smile with enthusiasm and inspire crowds of people. These sort of devotees we need. Thank you very much, Maharaj. We have literally a minute. It would be lovely to hear a blessing, a few words from you. Oh, one more question. You said that we can serve as a brahmachari, but what if some devotees are quite distant? Can they still serve the mission? Oh, I haven't answered the first question before. Whether we accept brahmacharis or non-brahmacharis. We accept non-brahmacharis also. They have slightly easygoing life, but they are also welcome to live with us and engage in devotional service. We have brahmacharis and non-brahmacharis, but also you can engage in preaching on the basis of projects. We have many online projects. We have online ekadashis, night services. It's not that online ekadashi you have this picture of a feast and you sit and you cry thinking Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, looking at this feast. Our projects are preaching, and so you can get involved on the webinars. These are carried out on Thursdays. You can get your fair share and fill of good preaching on the Thursday. All of these obstacles are described. This Thursday we will have a webinar about the different obstacles which are faced by devotees, and including the obstacles which are born in the mind, my own enemy. I am my own enemy, it turns out. This will be our webinar, and we will look at other different things to do with etiquette. Once in the seminar of Caitanya-Caritamrita Prabhu about etiquette, he said that about etiquette we we must have these seminars at least once a year. We continuously forget about this. We will be looking at etiquette and different themes. You can participate in YouTube or Instagram, encourage others to join. I try to give as many webinars as possible so that many can join, even those who are just beginners who are showing some interest. And so in this case, we are starting to preach all together. It's not that I'm preaching and you're just helping me somehow. I'm looking at this as an all-together preaching initiative. So now, your turn. Maharaj, just a quick blessing or a few words for our listeners. This is a very, very powerful marathon. Even if you're tired, you can just lie down and then switch it on again, and it still continues. So there's so many devotees. There are devotees of Srila Prabhupada are participating. Even Mataji Mandakini is writing to me. How can I say no to Mataji Mandakini? I can say no to myself, but how can I say no to Mataji Mandakini? I said once to Mataji Mandakini, I'd like to see what you looked like when Srila Prabhupada was giving you instructions. She even sent me 2 whole pictures. Can you imagine? I liked especially when she came to Russia and she began with Ananta Shakti, who didn't even know what etiquette. She started to teach him like this, very strictly. I very much like this. Our Mataji is the best Mataji in all 3 worlds. Haribol. Thank you very much, Maharaj, for your lecture. So much gratitude in the chats and all around gratitude. Thank you from all the organizers of the marathon that you found time, and of course Mataji Mandakini. So much positive feedback on this theme. Even I wanted to come and guest at your ashram. I shall also add, dear devotees, I shall add, dear devotees, that I got up at 2:30 this morning in order to do my japa, so that join you at 5 o'clock to sacrifice on my japa time. I haven't quite finished 16 rounds, and today later I'm also given a Srimad Bhagavatam class. Wow, what a life. Thank you so much. We don't even want to say goodbye and part with you, but we have to, because we have got Valmiki Prabhu joining us to carry on Caitanya-Caritamrita. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you. Accept our obeisances.